Welcome to my presentation. My name is Aaron Moffat. Today I'll be presenting to you what is high performance computing and big data, and how do they benefit our researchers. First off, the presentation covers why researchers need high performance computing. So basically, researchers need high performance computing because our questions are getting more and more complex. They're getting harder and harder to solve. We're asking bigger and bigger questions. It needs more data, and that data needs to be computed. Now, what exactly is a high-performance computer? A high-performance computer is a computer that performs much greater than your standard desktop computer. Generally, at this point in time, it needs to do more than a teraflop of data a second. And to put that into perspective, for people who might use a desktop PC, the fastest desktop PC you're going to have at the moment is only going to be in the low gigaflop range. Now, what are big data and cloud storage environments? Big data is generally anything within the petabyte range, I'd say, these days, and cloud storage is storage which is accessible over your network, so something you can download or upload, because obviously you're not going to take your big data to your computer on a USB stick or a CD or something like that. Now, who provides your HPC and big data services? Historically, it's been universities that provide the service. However, we are slowly moving away from universities providing this, and this is mainly due to cost. There are commercial solutions to HPC and big data. However, the problem for this is it's usually not affordable for researchers. It usually costs too much money. Researchers don't often have the money to pay for these systems, and there are not-for-profit institutions. So there's Intersect, Australian National Data Services, ANS, and National Computer Institute, NCI, that provide these services at the moment. And this is really, if the university can't provide it, this is where researchers are going to look to. What are some emerging issues that are facing the industry at the moment, or facing researchers? The first one is lack of government funding. So what's been found is that governments really like to build these new systems because they can put their name to it and say, look what we build, this is great. But they don't usually like paying the hundreds of thousands of dollars every year it costs to run the systems, and that's becoming an issue here in Australia. The next issue is economy of scale. So what happens basically is these systems every year are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's starting to make more sense to build fewer large systems than it does to build lots of smaller systems. It's cheaper to build one really big one than it is to build five, relatively big ones. Another issue that's coming up at the moment is competitive edge. It's being found, research has been done into how effective research is with high performance computing, and they're finding that researchers who have access to high performance computing can do more efficient research, so they can get results quicker, and they can research new things and develop new technologies quicker. So, in Australia here, if we don't develop these systems ourselves and we don't have high performance computing to enable our researchers, we might find that we fall behind, and this is really important for an industrialized nation. What are some current practices at the moment with high performance computing? There are two I've decided to cover in this presentation. The first one is personalized medicine. So they're using these big, huge supercomputers to sequence the genome, and specifically individuals' DNA, and they're using that to prescribe medicine based on what may happen in the future. So they might say, well, you're predisposed to having this condition or this disease in the future, and we can give you this medicine as a preventative, or you should live this kind of lifestyle as a preventative for that. And it's also being used to analyze ash fallout on a volcano erupt. So you can imagine, all the ash going everywhere, and these systems are being used to precisely measure where the ash might fall, and that helps with evacuation and resource planning in the event of a volcanic eruption. What are some possible future directions and future trends? We're going to see more centralized systems, so less of this covering for less smaller systems, more bigger systems. So you might find that smaller universities don't provide it at all, and they get their systems through, say, CSIRO or NCI, so the researchers can use their systems. We're going to see a great emphasis on power consumption and being more energy efficient. We're hitting at what they call a power wall at the moment, and that is basically where the supercomputers, HPC requires so much power that it's not feasible anymore. In America, they're looking at some systems they want to build. However, the problem is it's going to be so great that they need a whole power station just to power the one supercomputer. And we're also going to start seeing a growth in HPC, which we've been seeing in the past, but it's going to continue on. So basically what's happening is it's getting faster and faster every year, and we're going to see that continue in the future. And we're expecting to pass an exaflop a second by 2019. To conclude this presentation, Basically, I just wanted to say that it's important that industrialised nations such as Australia continue to invest in it, and that it's important that we take into account economies of scale, and we get the right funding in place for that. Some recommendations to do, if you're concerned about it, contact your local member of parliament and know that these systems are important to you, that it's important that they're invested in and that they continue running. And if you're a researcher, make sure that your university is aware that you expect them to have high performance computing there, and if you don't, you'll conduct your research for another university. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for watching.